No doubt everybody's impressed or scared by the monthly drop you had the tail end of last month, which so far basically ceased then, by the way. But a horrible looking candle, big reversal. It looks terrible. Okay. Mm-hmm. When you go to a momentum chart and you look at, let's say, annual momentum or quarterly momentum, where you're plotting these monthly bars against these long-term averages, and you're looking for structure, like, is there a major uptrend line that I'm breaking, or is there a floor?
This is a tight supply chain, and this is a tightening of the valve. And especially for a market that runs in just-in-time inventory, it can get potentially very interesting. It can get very interesting. So the Chinese, what's it called? Chinese Ministry of Commerce publish a white list of 44 companies allowed to export silver, and anything outside that lane is effectively shut out. There were many small and mid-sized refiners that would send metal out into the West, and those are done. And even those approved evidently face like a big additional licensing step, which means more time and cost and paperwork, and Beijing can slow things down whenever they really want. One of the things that people missed about this, to me, first of all, China refines 70% of the doré, right? And so those that were approved are state-run, and the state did something in November that not a lot of people talked about, and that was that they came out with something saying, we are going to prioritize exports for domestic necessity, for domestic demand. And that was quiet. But in essence, what they are doing is basically, in my mind, they're prioritizing domestic supply. And this is going to raise the risk premium, widens spreads, right? And so this is why you see lease rates going higher, and rates and borrowing costs, as we are seeing, are indeed accelerating. And I think it will also accelerate industrial stockpiling by locking in supply, which will tighten the market further. In other words, who the hell is standing for possession of all of this metal? 38 million ounces just in the first 6 days of the January non-delivery contract month, right? And the 68 million or whatever in December all-time record. I wonder, could it be someone like the U.S. government, now that it is a critical mineral, stockpiling? Could it be Tesla, Samsung? We were already told Samsung went to Mexico. As I've been saying on your show before, China's been doing that for 2 years, going right to Mexico, the number one producer, China's two, and to Peru, the number 3 producer, and buying up all their doré and concentrate, paying double what the West will, shipping it home and refining it. Well, Samsung just did that themselves. You are seeing a disintermediation of the market. They're going right to the source, buying doré and concentrate, which isn't reportable, which isn't verifiable in terms of purity and in terms more so of how much.
I think the key takeaway for investors is pretty simple. When a government turns a commodity into something strategic and adds licensing rules or restrictions, supply stops being purely economic and becomes political. And once supply becomes political, it often becomes tighter, less predictable, and much harder to access. In a small market like silver, it doesn't take much disruption to trigger a huge price reaction. You don't buy silver because you're trying to get rich overnight, but what we're seeing right now looks like a once-in-a-generation setup because the physical drawdown is no longer just a theory. The delivery numbers are telling the story. In just the first 6 days of January, nearly 38 million ounces stood for delivery on the COMEX, and December alone set an all-time record near 70 million ounces. So the real question is, who is demanding metal at this scale? Governments are now classifying silver as a strategic and critical mineral, and major industrial players, companies like Tesla, Samsung, and defense contractors, need guaranteed supply. What's changing now is that buyers are increasingly bypassing exchanges entirely, going directly to mines in Mexico and Peru and paying premiums to secure doré and concentrate. That shift matters because it removes transparency and it removes metal from the visible market. In my opinion, the clearest signal is what's happening on COMEX. When you see massive physical delivery demand showing up in places it normally doesn't, it's a warning sign. Are you curious about investing in gold and silver, but feel held back by fear or confusion? This ebook is designed especially for new investors who want clarity, not complexity. It breaks down gold and silver trading strategies in a simple, practical way. No jargon, no hype. Why wait? Hurry up. Please visit this link to get your copy today and use code WZCABQ9V for a huge discount. More than 1,000 people took the first step with this ebook, and today, they're living proof that smart investing changes lives. Start investing fearlessly, wisely, and with a clear strategy. For years, we were net exporters, and now it looks like we're importing more than almost anyone in the world. Since November, month after month, billions upon billions of dollars have been flowing into COMEX delivery demand, and the strange part is how little mainstream attention it's getting. This has been screaming at people for months. And honestly, that's all you need to know, because the people operating at that level, the ones with that kind of money, aren't guessing. Just like when the BIS reclassified gold as a Tier 1 high-quality liquid asset, central banks didn't buy hand over fist since 2017 because they were taking a gamble. The big sophisticated money knows the playbook, and they don't care about price the way retail does. They care about one thing: deliver the metal, period. And when they insist on delivery, it tells you something critical. The paper price is starting to matter less, because this isn't just about trading anymore. It's about ownership.
And when you add in the math of our debts and our deficits, which must mathematically force some form of a policy response over time, this is one of the reasons the central banks have been buying, and the no counterparty risk, no freeze your asset risk that gold provides, sitting outside the system. I don't know. I just think that you'll begin to see more money rotating into this type of mentality, which will accelerate the move. So, I don't know. Yes, I see gold continuing to march decidedly higher quietly. Silver will get most of the publicity, but gold is still going to, I think, end the year much, much higher than it did start it.
The notion of momentum analysis today, the popular one, is to look at some wet noodle indicators. And literally, they look like wet noodles. They do this, RSI, MACD, things like that are free on your quote screen.
Do like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon for more updates.